PUBG continues to grow like no game before it. Some time ago, I released my first video on some changes to configuration files and other things you could do to get some extra performance on this game. Since then, the game has grown and changed a little bit, so I wanted to make a short update video to reflect just that. This extra video was made possible due to a kind sponsorship from skins.cash. If you're looking for a quick way to sell PUBG, CSGO or TF2 skins, give them a try. I'm aware there's a fair amount of trust required in services like these, so I tried several transactions and managed to sell a couple of skins very quickly and very simply with no problem. And everything I could find about the service pointed at them having a good customer support team if anything happens. So if you want to sell some skins without hassle, give them a try and let me know how it goes in comments or Twitter. For starters, we have the configuration file located in the game's configuration directory in app data. Any control over shadow resolution has apparently been removed, so I have taken those variables out of the file. I've also added some other elements I had missed before, and at the end of the file I have left the main variable that controls some of the lighting related pose effects inside buildings. By disabling it, you gain some performance at the cost of visibility, but many people have asked for a way to revert that, so now all you have to do is to remove the last line. However, since we're talking about configuration files, I have to make a disclaimer. Bluehole, the developer of this game, has explicitly stated that changing the configuration file is prohibited and paramounts to cheating. This was apparently triggered by an update that added fog in the game as a post-process, which got people to start disabling post-processing altogether. I'm pretty sure I don't need to tell you my opinion on this. People have been looking for performance or gameplay adjustments in configuration files since the start of PC gaming, and threatening a ban over this is highly concerning, rather than just fixing the way the fog is rendered in the game. But this is not an opinion video, so let's leave it at that. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and put a disclaimer. If you choose to use this configuration file, you do so at your own risk. I have used this file so far without any issue, and if this changes, you will see a note in the description, but there's still a risk. Apart from the file, there's a small tweak that a ton of people have sent me from this Reddit thread link in the description. If you're using Windows 10, you might get a performance increase by changing a small detail in the executable. Navigate to whenever your game is installed and then TSL Game, Binaries, Win64. Right-click on tslgame.exe and go to Properties. On the Compatibility tab, you can select Override High DPU Scaling Behavior and make sure it is set to Application, and then click OK. I decided to look at the game in more detail in the same setup I used for my last video, a dual-core Intel Celeron and a GT 640. Interestingly enough, I do believe the game has received some optimizations since my last attempt, as I was getting similar performance indoors with the light post-processing disabled, and at a higher internal resolution than before. As you can see, this is being limited mainly by the GPU in this instance, so you can still drop the internal resolution lower using the tool from the old video. But before you head that way, you might want to test in different weather conditions. Matches during rain hit a hard CPU bottleneck as well, in some instances hitting both the CPU and the GPU. Since dropping the internal resolution will only help with the GPU, this is a good opportunity to remind you to be mindful about background programs and services, and to make sure you have as little background CPU use as possible. Let me know if these changes help your performance. This game is still in development, so I will not be surprised if more information comes to light regarding performance tweaking. Is there a tweak you have been using to play this game? Let me know in comments or send me a tweet or an email. Thank you to the people in Patreon who help keep the channel going. I will see you all on the next regular, longer video.